Hey, my name is Crystal, and this is part of my story. I started playing the piano when I was about 3 years old. My dad was what back then you would call a choir director in our little church, and he also played the bass. And so I grew up just in that culture of music and seeing my dad lead our congregation at our little church just into the throne room. And so it was just a part of me. And so it's always been natural for me. In June of this year, I was fortunate enough to be able to go to FC Students Camp and play keys there. On the morning of Wednesday, June the 5th, I found out right after the morning worship session that my dad was having to go to the hospital. Being an only child, I knew that I needed to be there for him to make sure that he was okay. So I rushed home. And by the time I got to the hospital, they had discovered that he was having some issues with his stomach. We waited and we gave it a few extra days, and unfortunately, it came to the point that the doctors told us there was nothing more that they could do. That Sunday afternoon and going into Monday, I had to make probably the hardest decision that I've ever made in my life. And then that Tuesday morning, June the 18th, I was honored enough to hold my dad's hand and pray over him and sing to him as he passed away. During that time, my life just felt like total chaos, and I know that God showed his love to me during that time through my FC family, through my small group, through my worship family. I always had what I needed. I always had an ear to listen. I always had somebody praying with me and reaching out to me. And that meant more than I can probably ever communicate. One of the songs that we do quite often is I've Witnessed It. And I feel like the last 6 months of my life, I have truly walked through the lyrics of that song. I had moments in the hospital with my dad where I did feel lost and alone and like no one was there for me. But every time I felt that way, my church family reached out to me. They carried me through that. And God showed his love and kindness to me in that way. He reminded me through them that I'm not alone, that we're not doing this alone. He reminded me that he was there with me. There's a line in the song that says that God never left me without hope, and I can truly say that through that whole thing, he never did. He was reminding me over and over again through that process, and even through the life that I watched my dad live, that death is not the end, because we have the hope in Christ, that because of the sacrifice that he made for us, we will live life eternal with him. So even going through losing my dad and all of that pain, I still had the encouragement of the hope in Christ, because we all have stories, we all have things that we'll live to tell about the goodness of God, because we've all witnessed the faithfulness of God.